What's up, guys? Wholesome Joe back today. I've been a little sick, but I wanted to do a video. It's long overdue because it's now been out for over a week. I recorded this video already and I don't know what happened to it, but I lost it. I don't have it, but I'm gonna do my review of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I'm just holding the camera today, not gonna have it on a stand. I want you to be able to see that I got the Frozen Empire poster in the background there. I got my Ghostbusters Afterlife poster back there, a lot of my Ghostbusters stuff, Power Ranger stuff. You know, as you know, if you've been watching my channel for any period of time, you know I'm a big fan of those things. And we just hit 1,000 subscribers.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
So thank you guys so much for helping me reach that goal. It's been a long time coming. I've been trying to post more videos, and that is the result, 1,000 subscribers. So if you saw my other video where I said I was gonna give away a prop Green Ranger morpher to someone, one of my subscribers, when I reached 1,000 subscribers, that moment has come. So be on the lookout for that. I'm gonna choose someone, and then we will make an announcement and I will get that out to whoever is the winner. So if you haven't commented on my videos, comment on my videos. That is how I'm gonna pick who the winner is, by those people who have commented on my videos. So comment on this one, go back and watch my other ones. And yeah, so let's get into the review of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. So I was going to do this, well, the first time I made this video, I had seen it once. I got to watch it early with my Atlanta Ghostbusters friends. I am part of the Atlanta Ghostbusters franchise, which is basically a cosplay charity group. We do parades and cool events and things, and we dress up like Ghostbusters. I actually am working on a proton pack right now that I'm hoping to finish. I was trying to get it finished for the premiere, which I did not. It'll be my 4th proton pack. I actually ended up getting rid of all the other ones I've built because, you know, money and financial things and, you know, life, as it were. But anyhow, I went to see Ghostbusters Frozen Empire early, a day or two early. I did not get to go to the premiere this time. I did go to the premiere for Ghostbusters Afterlife in New York, which was an awesome experience, and there are videos about that you can watch if you would like to see what my experience was when I went to the premiere for the last Ghostbusters movie. Now, before I get into this, I'm just going to say, at the time of the making of this video, I have seen Ghostbusters Frozen Empire twice. I intend to watch it at least 1 or 2 more times. I've seen it with my Ghostbusters friends, and I've seen it with my son, Saban, who is 16. He's not as big of a Ghostbusters fan as I am, but he still likes Ghostbusters. He's kind of grown up with it because of me. So, you know, it was cool to get his opinion on it, what he thought about it, and that kind of also gave me a little bit more insight as to what a casual viewer of the movie might think about it versus someone who is like a hardcore Ghostbusters fan like I am. Now, the first time that I watched this movie, the only thing I was expecting was for it to be a fun popcorn flick. I didn't have any more expectations for it than that, and that is exactly what it was. It was a fun popcorn flick. It is not like, I'll just say this right out of the gate, it's not the best movie that I've ever seen. It's not even the best Ghostbusters movie I've ever seen. It's probably not even in the top 2 or 3 Ghostbusters movies, but it is a fun flick with a lot of cool stuff in it, and they did try to do some interesting things with it. And the thing I've been telling everyone, and I'm trying not to be too shaky with my camera, but if I am, I'm sorry. The thing I've been telling everybody is that when they ask me what I thought about it or what kind of movie it is, I basically say it's a really long episode of the real Ghostbusters cartoon. So if you watch the real Ghostbusters cartoon as a kid, you will know what I'm talking about, and you will probably like it just based on that alone. So if you kind of turn your brain off and watch it as a 2-hour-long episode of the real Ghostbusters cartoon, you will probably like it a lot more. It starts to show its cracks once you start thinking about it too hard and try to think of it as a Ghostbusters movie that is in line with the originals, which is not what it is. Once you start doing that, then it starts to sort of kind of fall apart. But I just wanted to say that at the beginning, that I did like the movie, and I liked the movie. A lot of people are saying that they enjoyed the movie more the second or third time they watched it, and I had the opposite experience. I actually enjoyed it more the first time I saw it, and then the second time not quite as much. My son actually had to nudge me because I fell asleep at one point, which is not great. It could have been because I was just tired, because I'm a busy guy, but he did have to sort of wake me up during part of it. And he was like, "Why are you asleep?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm kind of bored, you know." But anyway, let me get into the things I liked about it. I liked that it was a long episode of the real Ghostbusters cartoon. I liked that we got to see sort of ghost busting right out of the gate. I really liked how the movie opened with the 1904 firehouse. And I work at medieval times and I ride horses. So seeing horses pull the carriage out of the firehouse was really cool. I thought that was a really cool way to start the movie. And I really liked seeing Ecto-1 blaring down the streets again in New York. And I liked the new ghosts. I liked the villain. I did not like the villain as much as I was hoping that I would. I don't think the villain got as much screen time as it should have, but I'll get into that. But I did like how, scary the villain was. I do wish they had gone with Sam Hain instead of this ice thing, because he's very similar to Sam Hain anyway. He can control an army of ghosts, which is kind of the same thing that Sam Hain could do in the cartoon. So I wish they had just used Sam Hain. I think going the weather, natural disaster route was not really the right move, but I'm not the writer. And I really enjoyed seeing the research lab. I really enjoyed seeing Ray and Winston have a much bigger part. I enjoyed seeing Janine and of course Venkman all back. I enjoyed those parts of the movie. And I even enjoyed the guy who was playing Nadeem. I forget what his name is, the actor. He was the guy who's the fire master. I really actually enjoyed him a lot. He was one of the funnier characters, and a lot of people said that they didn't think he was funny. But for a movie that's supposed to be a comedy, a lot of the other comedic parts just kind of fell flat. Even Paul Rudd wasn't as funny as I was hoping he was going to be in this movie. He had one or two moments where he was funny. But yeah, those are the things I liked about the movie. If you can watch it again, turn your brain off. It's a fun movie, fun ride. But as this is a review, we're going to pick it apart. So the things that I didn't like about it. So I think where the movie really suffers kind of is in the writing of the film. There's too many characters. And you're gonna hear a lot of stuff that you've probably seen in other reviews, because all of this most of the reviewers of this movie all have the same general complaints, is that the pacing is off, there's too many characters, and there's too much stuff going on. I agree with all of those things. That's why I said you kind of have to turn your mind off, because if you pay attention or if you think about it too hard, you'll just get lost because there's too many things going on. I think the villain was strong enough to exist without most of the other subplots going on. And one thing that I've seen some people like and some people really dislike was the whole Phoebe talking to the ghost and ghost friend, ghost girlfriend, ghost crush, whatever it's supposed to be. I personally was not particularly a huge fan of that. I didn't really care about what it was. It was mostly that it just felt out of place. And I understand they were trying to do something different, but they spent a lot of time on that when they could have spent it on other things that I thought were more interesting. And I don't think any of the movie would have had any less impact if that's just been omitted from the entire movie. I think a better choice, personally, was because they were going with the whole Phoebe is getting, ostracized from the group. She's not being taken seriously, so she starts to become like a kind of teenage, having her teenage attitude. She's sort of bratty. And I'll even say that I liked her a lot less. And it's not any fault of hers. That's just the way her character is written. And she's a great actor, so that's not her fault. But her character was a lot less likable this time, and I think they had to do that in order to tell the story they were trying to tell. But I really didn't like the whole ghost subplot. I thought it would have been a stronger choice to have Phoebe connect with Ray, because Ray is also being ostracized by Winston. Basically, Winston is basically saying, you're too old to be a Ghostbuster. You're too old to be trying to do all this stuff still. And Ray's like, well, this is what I want to do. This is what I enjoy doing. And so with Winston telling him that, and then, Peck and Phoebe's family telling her that she has to take a back seat, you know, while the people who don't really even, like, aren't really, like, that knowledgeable in ghost busting are the ones who continue to get to be Ghostbusters, but the smartest person in the group doesn't. I thought it would be cool to have Ray and Phoebe sort of align, join forces, and then you could have still had the same dynamic of working together and like getting in trouble and causing havoc and causing chaos and then having to be saved by the other Ghostbusters. So I think they could have made the movie way more interesting by just not even including that friendly ghost subplot. And plus, it was kind of weird because in Afterlife, whenever Phoebe would be playing chess and the chessboard would move by itself, she was talking to Egon. So that was a little odd to me. I would have rather them used something else instead of like making us think it might be Egon and it's not. That was just weird. I also didn't really understand the whole, I just met this ghost, I have a crush, or I'm very interested in this ghost, so much so that I'm willing to basically turn myself into a ghost. And there was just a lot of mental gymnastics that I had to do to like make that work in my head. And I just had a hard time with that. So I think the movie could have done without that. You may agree or disagree. The other thing I didn't really like about it is, as I said before, there's too many characters. I didn't really enjoy the whole Fire Master, kind of like the Keymaster, kind of like the Louis Tully character. He's kind of aloof, kind of dumb. I do like that actor, and I did think he brought a lot to the film, but I didn't really... There was just a lot of nonsensical stuff that, if you think too hard about it, didn't make any sense. Like, he's a pyrotechnic, but he can bend proton beams that aren't fire. They got upgrades to the proton packs that made it seem like they were going to be upgrades that were specific to defeating this monster or this ghost. They don't really explain them. The upgrades don't do anything. They just are kind of useless. The barrel shroud was the most specific one that I was like, oh, cool, they're going to have a flamethrower because the ghost is ice-based. And, of course, if you play like Dungeons & Dragons or any RPG, you know that fire beats ice. So, logically, if the proton packs can now like shoot fire, that would make sense. But they didn't really do anything. The yellow bumpers, which I've never been a fan of, they didn't really explain those like I was hoping they were going to. And I know these are nitpicky things. This is just my opinion. Like I said, you can come at me and tell me I'm not a real fan or whatever the case is, but these are just my opinions. And so they didn't explain that. I really did like the Lars Penfield character, but he just didn't have enough to do because they were too busy focusing on these other characters that didn't really need to be in the movie. Podcast was one of my favorite characters from Ghostbusters Afterlife, and they barely used him. I did like how they had paired him with Ray, but I didn't really care for the Finn Wolfhard, like the Trevor storyline with Slimer. I think that could have been done a little bit differently, and it would have had a bigger impact. I think that was the ghost friend subplot that I would have been okay with. As in, like, Trevor and Slimer had this, like, inside friendship that nobody else knew about. And then Slimer, comes and helps them later. I didn't really understand why Lucky was there. I don't have a problem with the character. There was not much explanation for why she was there other than that she was in the last movie. If she wasn't in the movie, I wouldn't have missed her. They also left out a lot of stuff that was in the trailers that I thought were important, that were more interesting than the ghosts friendship angle, like the conversation with Gruberson and Venkman near the containment unit. The bit where they show Lucky's eyes like freezing up. I thought that something like really bad was going to happen to her, and then they just kind of that wasn't even in the movie. And when that part came in the movie, it was kind of like brushed over, and it was like, oh, well, he froze her proton stream, but he froze her proton stream and her proton pack to the point where the proton pack malfunctioned. But she's okay. Doesn't really make any sense, right? Because if you freeze something to the point where it freezes the barrel, it freezes the stream, and it freezes the pack that you are wearing, then it had to go through you to get to the pack, which means you would also be frozen. So that didn't really make any sense to me. But, you know, I can suspend my disbelief for some of that stuff because it's Ghostbusters, right? Some of the new equipment was cool. The drone trap was cool, even though I didn't understand why they didn't use it immediately to catch the ghost that was flying. Other things that were weird is that in the final act, the main ghost battle with Garaka was just like the movie didn't seem very Frozen Empire to me. New York was barely kind of in the backdrop, and in the original movie, New York was like a central character. Like, it was part of the cast, and I didn't feel like that was the case in this movie. They didn't show enough of New York. New York was kind of like, at some points, it didn't even feel like New York. And for a movie called Firehouse, that was the code name originally that I thought was going to focus around the firehouse. The focus wasn't really the firehouse, not until the very end. Walter Peck was another issue I had. I couldn't tell if he was angry or if he was just slightly annoyed or that he like actually kind of likes the Ghostbusters now. His demeanor was so up and down. I just didn't really understand some of where he was coming from. I was hoping to see like a redemption arc from him instead of just kind of going in the same direction of him being the same as he always was. I thought the third act was kind of rushed. The Garaka, even though was a sufficiently scary villain, was kind of easy to take care of. I thought he would be a lot more difficult to capture. I thought that it was weird that they even tried to catch him in a regular trap. He's a boss Pokemon. You're not catching a boss Pokemon in a regular Pokeball, right? And also the orb or the sphere thing that Garaka comes from was pretty much a Pokeball, right? I didn't really like the whole ghost soul extractor thing. I really liked the research lab. I just wish there had been more of a purpose for it. I liked the possessor ghost. That was cool. The possessor ghost could have been the villain, could have been the main villain. I really liked the Christine Ecto-1 possession scene. That was very real Ghostbusters. I like Winston doing his thing. I'm glad that Janine was there, and I really like seeing her in the jumpsuit, but other than that, she didn't really do a whole lot. As far as the new cast goes, I don't really buy Callie Spengler as a Ghostbuster. She basically was anti-science in Afterlife. The only connection she has to ghosts and ghost busting and paranormal is that her dad was Egon, who abandoned her. So I don't know how she all of a sudden got a super interest in busting ghosts, but I could see her more as like a motherly figure who like wanted to do better for her family, and the opportunity arose for her to move to a new place, which just happened to be the firehouse because that's what they could get, and she got sucked into it that way. I don't even think she should probably even be a Ghostbuster, which I know sounds bad. It has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that I don't buy that she's into science and the paranormal now enough to warrant having the qualifications to be a Ghostbuster. Maybe even Gruberson doesn't, because he was just a school teacher. But he was kind of like Winston. He was like a fanboy of Ghostbusters, but he's just a regular dude who just happens to have a passing interest in it. Well, I guess he has more than a passing interest. He was a fan of the originals, but he knew the history and all of that. So I thought he made sense, but his character was not nearly as funny as it was in Afterlife. And to be honest with you, there's not a lot of quotable moments in this movie. The original two Ghostbusters, like a lot of people say, oh, Ghostbusters 2 is terrible. But even Ghostbusters 2 has some quotable moments in it.
Sometimes shit happens, someone has to deal with it, and who are you gonna call?
There's a lot more I could say about this movie. I don't think it's a bad movie. I don't think it's the best Ghostbusters movie. Right now, I would still put Afterlife slightly higher in the ranking. I think this movie is more comparable to the 2016 Ghostbusters than any of the others, simply because it's just more silly and more kind of over the top than the other ones were. even though it's like we're talking about Ghostbusters, it's all kind of over the top. But yeah, I think it's like if you were going to compare this movie to any of the other Ghostbusters movies, I would compare it more to the 2016 movie, which I didn't actually hate, like a lot of you out there. I know you hated it, which, you know, that's fine. You like what you like, right? But I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was needed. I didn't think any of these movies were needed. I'm one of those people. I didn't really think any of these movies were needed. I'm glad we're getting new Ghostbusters stuff. I'm grateful for that as a fan. I mean, I might edit that out because people are gonna just rip me to shreds for even saying anything positive about the 2016 movie. But yeah, that's my review of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I'd love to talk more about it because I got a lot more to say. If you agree, let me know in the comments. If you disagree, let me know in the comments. Remember, 1,000 subscribers, I'm giving away a morpher. If you want a chance to win that morpher, comment on all my videos. See you next time.